adjust your dial. That's just John Fogerty practicing, as us great musicians like to do. I think Seton may have screwed up his guitar, and then John said, I need another guitar.
He did. As soon as I put it down, he brought in a new guitar.
I don't know if it's tainted, and only John's fingers are allowed to touch that guitar. Are you okay with this, John, that Seton was picking up your guitar? And is that like no man's land for you?
Sometimes, but in this case, it's okay.
Oh, really? Okay. All right, let me give a full intro here. John Fogerty, his memoir, Fortunate Son, My Life, My Music, available now wherever books are sold. You can see John revisit 1969 a year, in which CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival, one of the first 4 albums that I bought. They released 3 albums, played Woodstock during an 8-show Las Vegas residency dubbed Peace, Love, and Fogerty, and he'll perform 8 gigs at the Venetian starting January 8th. Is that it?
That's it.
That's the big intro there. I met John, full disclosure, at the Howard Stern birthday party backstage, and I thought I was being punked that night when they said, hey, John Fogerty would like to meet you. And I went, oh, okay. So I go, and I eventually find your dressing room.
Right.
And I think your wife answered the door, and she looked at me and like, who are you? And then I said, I was told John wanted to meet me. And then I thought, damn it, Howard Stern's guys got me. And then I went in, and you said, oh, hey, I'm a big fan. I listen all the time. I went, wait, holy crap. And then you said, can we get a picture? And I went, wait, I'm supposed to be saying this stuff. So thank you for the kind words.
Oh, thank you for the kind words. It's fun, isn't it?
It is, I think, at times.
I can't believe I'm in the real man cave. This is awesome.
Yeah?
Wow, yeah.
You have a man cave, don't you? You should have everything.
I don't have a man cave, and I don't know that I call it that anyway, but... actually right now our house is under construction, so we're all sharing a little TV in the kitchen.
Are you a sports fan?
Very, very much so, yeah.
Northern California, are you a Niners fan? You went to Berkeley, didn't you? Or you were from Berkeley?
No, I was actually born in a hospital. It's in Berkeley, but I was born and raised in El Cerrito, which is right next door, little town.
Oh, you a Niner fan?
Absolutely. Yeah, I grew up watching... Frankie Albert and, people that way back when. And we didn't have Major League Baseball teams, so we had the San Francisco Seals and the Oakland Oaks, or Acorns. My oldest brother was actually the last bat boy for that team, the Oakland minor league team.
Were you an athlete?
Not very good. I mean, I loved to play. I was, baseball especially, and... nowadays, I probably play more basketball than anything. It's hard to find enough people for a baseball game. But certainly just grew up loving sports, and I still watch and listen all the time, sure.
When did music hit you?
Oh, very early. 2, 3 years old.
Like you knew something was there?
Yeah, well, before I could really think about it, I was already doing it. I know there was an old song I knew called Shoe Fly Pie, Apple Pan Daddy, make your eyes bug out and your tummy say howdy. And I'd get a big chuckle out of all the grown-ups, so that worked.
When did you know you could play guitar?
I'm still trying, still working at that one.
Who was your guitar hero?
Dwayne Eddy, and then after that, all of them. Chet Atkins became like the mountaintop to me. I couldn't do what he can do. James Burton was a big influence because he was a real young guy, and he was with Ricky Nelson at first. But his style was just sort of rocking. It was just really aggressive. I like that.
But I was watching a Keith Richards documentary, and he talked about how Chuck Berry changed so many people's lives playing guitar.
Yeah, me too.
What was it about Chuck Berry, though, that changed? Anybody who wanted to pick up the instrument knew that they would pay homage to Chuck Berry.
Well, those songs were just so great. I guess the first one I knew was Maybelline, and he had this funky sound. He was just so cool. But I think he sort of invented, certainly was real good at singing and then playing a lick, singing and then playing a lick. There was always room for that guitar in between the singing.
What do people say on the street? Like here in New York, what do they say to you if they see you?
Give me your wallet.
After that?
Yeah. You know, they just say, "Oh, John, I like your music," that kind of thing. It's cool. Or, "John, can I have a picture?" That
Yeah.
kind of thing. And nowadays, you don't have to wait because everybody got a phone, and it just happens before you even think about it.
How old were you when you started your first band?
13, I believe,
And
maybe even 12.
And the name of the band?
The Blue Velvets.
Nice. What was your go-to song? You did covers?
Sure, absolutely. That was all covers.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I wrote a couple of little instrumentals, but mostly covering things like Rumble, if you remember that, by Link Ray,
No.
or Rebel Rouser by Duane Eddy. Then after that, anything by The Ventures, and Freddie King, Hideaway, and Just Pickin'. There were a lot of instrumentals in those days that we were an instrumental band, and that's what you could do.
When did you start writing music? Because that's where you can make the money, when you're writing music and then somebody records your songs. Is that fair to the process?
Yeah, but Dan, I really didn't know about that when I was a kid, and I actually didn't think about that very much. That's probably why I had so much trouble later.
And it's all in the book, by the way.
Yeah, I wasn't about being famous or rich or any of that. I just loved music, and so if I heard something that I really wanted, that intrigued me, I just had to know how to do it. It was just where my curious brain went. I know that when the Blue Velvets we all had gone to this little junior high in El Cerrito called Portola Junior High. Then we moved on to high school, but my music teacher at Portola said, "You can come back and play at this sock hop we're having," right? And so we, got our few songs ready. And in the car on the way over to it that day, I heard a brand new song on the radio called Bulldog by the Fireballs. I'm listening to it, and it really turned me on. So when I got to the sock hop, I said, "Let's play that song I just heard." And said, "Well, how's it go?" And I said, "It's a 12-bar blues. We're in A. Just do that." I mean, it's so unusual now to realize I sprung a brand new song on my band in front of people without rehearsing. I would never do that now, of course. But I was so curious about anything that was cool on guitar, I just had to know.
He's John Fogerty. The book is Fortunate Son, My Life and My Music, joining us in the Man Cave. Did you get drafted
Yeah, I did.
into Vietnam?
It was 1966. It was kind of before it really went way up there, actually. I managed to get into an Army Reserve unit.
Did it help or hurt your career?
Well, in some weird ways, it helped.
Because your songs, you do write about Vietnam.
Yeah, and absolutely. Now, I was actually thinking about, I'd been writing songs since I was probably 8 years old. By the time I was drafted, it had actually already made a few records, singles that, didn't go anywhere, of course. And while I was in the Army on active duty, it happened to be summertime. And it's wartime, and they've drafted millions of people, millions of guys mostly, all the same age, and they don't know what to do with all these people. I was at Fort Bragg, Fort Knox, and Fort Lee, and perhaps at the last place, Fort Lee, I remember that. I mean, they had a mile square asphalt, what they called parade field. It was just a huge parking lot. And you'd march around, in full Army gear with your rifle, boots, and all that. And you would march for hours, right? You'd say, "Okay, all right, everybody turn left," or however they gave the command, And I'd be marching in this heat. It's like 110 degrees, but off of that asphalt, it's like more like 130. March and I started to go delirious. One of the things in the military is you're always spit shining the toe of those boots, right? So I'd see it was just in my head. I'm being delirious. I'd see a thumbprint on that otherwise glassy toe. And so in my mind, I'd go to polish the thumbprint, but it would go, and squiggle over here, right? And it was the weirdest thing. But after that kind of delirious episode, I started working on a story. It's a song that ended up being called Porterville, but it was my first, you might say, story song. And I mean, that happened in the Army, so in some weird way, the Army helped me in music.
But did Proud Mary come right after that?
Not quite, but when I got back to civilian life, I was still in the reserves and trying to somehow terminate my duty with the Army Reserve because it was really conflicting with a rock and roll career, especially the long hair thing, you know. So I was working on trying to get out of the Army, and one day I received my honorable discharge. It was just laying on the steps of my building. I opened up that envelope. I went, oh, wow! Oh! And so I actually turned a little cartwheel right on the little bit of grass in front of the apartment building, and I ran in the house and picked up my guitar and started fooling around, and there was Proud Mary. As a matter of fact, ooh, I'll show you something here. Oh. Well, anyway.
All right. Oh, you.
Yeah. I mean, I started fooling with the guitar. I was so happy, you know, left a good job in the city.
Yeah.
Man, that's where that came from.
Working for the man.
There you go. And anyhow, and in the middle of that song, I realized I'm writing about the Mississippi and some kind of riverboat or something. What's going on? So I went to my little songbook that I had started keeping, and on the very first page, the very first entry is Proud Mary.
So this is the notebook that you had?
Yeah.
So you've got the lyrics here.
Not the lyrics, the titles.
Titles?
Yeah.
Bad Moon Rising?
Hey, you're talking about the very first page.
Yeah.
That was on the very first page. Yes, sir.
How cool is this, John?
It's unbelievable that this book is
Wait,
almost
were you
50
giving that
years
to me?
old.
Oh, you were giving that to me.
Oh, it is not man cave.
It's not.
No.
Oh, I thought it was for the man cave. I thought you gave
You can
that
have my
to me.
shirt. That's okay.
I can have your shirt for the man cave?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Craig. So I know you get asked to sing a lot of different songs, but I think Centerfield would be interesting because I did talk to you at the Howard Stern show about Centerfield, and who you wrote that about I thought was interesting because I think people have a misconception of who you were writing Centerfield about. So when we come back, do you have the guitar to be able to play
Absolutely.
Centerfield?
Sure.
That'd be awesome.